morning, everyone. Welcome to All People's Church, Unitarian Universalist.
This is good. Okay. All right. Good morning and welcome to All People's Church, Unitarian Universalist. I'm Anna Maria Thorne, your co-celebrant for today. In the pulpit, our guest speaker, Rosalind Hunter. Rosalind Hunter works as a biology professor at Hill College in Cleburne, Texas. She is currently serving as a president of the Board of Trustees here at All People's Church and is a long-time lover of science. Our theme for the month of May is Awakening Curiosity. We're especially pleased to welcome those who have not been here before. Welcome to our blessed community. For more information about us, please see the insert in the order of service for information on all of the goings-on at the church this week, as well as on the back of the order of service. If you haven't yet done so, please sign in at the visitors table by the front door, where you can be placed on a mailing list to receive weekly emails and the monthly newsletter. At the end of the service, please stay and join us for coffee and conversation in the library at the back of the sanctuary. Please settle comfortably now for our musical prelude.
We gather as a community of spiritual seekers, always ready to awaken each other's curiosity in this beautiful, challenging, and complex world. May we enter our worship today with open minds, warm hearts, and spirits entranced with the possibility of healing, of hope, of transformation, of justice. Come, let us worship.
We now invite you to rise in body or spirit for the chalice lighting, opening hymn, and spoken affirmation. Our chalice lighting words are from Chief Noah Self. Please turn to reading 550 in the back of the gray hymnal and read the responses marked in italics. We belong to the earth. This we know. The earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth.
This we know. All things are connected like the blood which unites one family.
All things are connected.
Congregation earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth.
We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it.
Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves.
Please join us now in singing our hymn of the month for May, hymn 38, The Morning Has Broken.
Be seated. Oh, no. Oh, wait.
Please join us now in reciting our affirmation. The words are in the order of service and also projected on the screens.
Stand up again.
All right. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Please be seated. The young and the young at heart are now invited to come forward for our time of all ages here at the front of the chancel.
Ooh, come sit up here. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, good morning. Okay. So you ever heard anybody say, I know that as well as the back of my hand? How well do you know the back of your hand? Have you ever looked at it? Okay, all right. So if you look at your fingernail, there's the top that comes across the top, and then there's the bottom called the epinecium. And under the nail plate, is there a little white thing right on the base of it? Okay, that's called a lunule. Okay, so when I was younger, I got a book on how to draw hands. And in this book, it said, if you look closely at someone's hand, you'll see that everyone has a little lunule on the base of their nail, a little white thing right at the base. And so if you want to draw a hand right, you've got to include that. So I looked at my hand, and I don't have one. See? I don't have those. And I looked at the book, and looked at my hand, and then I said, what's wrong with me? But a young scientist as I was, I decided that I would go look and see. So I looked at my sister's hands, and I looked at my brother's hands, and I looked at my father's hands, and I looked at my mother's hands, and none of them had lineals. But the book clearly said all people have them. So I started looking at people's hands a lot. And what I found out is that a lot of people have them. Some people don't have them on every finger. Some people have them on most of their fingers, and then they'll have one or two without it. And I wondered about the fact that the book said that everybody had one, because I didn't, and I didn't know what that meant. Was there something weird about me and my family? But probably I realized after a while that maybe the guy who wrote the book just had never seen anybody different. And that you can't always trust that everything you read is going to be accurate, because people write it based on their limited assumptions about what's going on around them. And so you have to always keep looking and keep asking questions, because people aren't always right. And you got to keep on observing things yourself and trusting yourself. It wasn't that there was something wrong with me because I didn't have a lineal. It's just that you got to look around. You have to look around and learn more about the people around you. Okay, that's all. Let's sing out the children. As we leave this empty Is it you or me? Me? Okay. Our offertory today Your contributions will benefit the mission and operations of our church, as well as outreach to the larger community as we share the undesignated cash offerings that are collected each week. We do this on a quarterly basis for a nonprofit or a charitable organization. Our Share the Plate recipient for the second quarter of this year is The Underground. The Underground is a program of a larger group called Unbound Now, whose mission is to fight human trafficking. The Underground is a safe and protective drop-in center in our community for vulnerable youth. On the back of the order of service, you can find a QR code for making contributions, It has been provided for your convenience. As a self-funded and self-propelled congregation, we do always need money, but we also rely on the energy and vision of volunteers, social justice advocates, programs, committees, administrative committees, building and grounds workers, bees, religious exploration teachers, caring committees, and greeters. So regardless of your ability to donate monetarily, there are countless ways to contribute just by being here in the community with us. Will the ushers please come forward? What all creatures who are great or small are. The book says 103, but it's not. Yeah, it's the last one. Okay, hello everyone. That was great, wasn't that? Okay, so today we're going to be reading a sermon that was contributed by Reverend Darcy Lane. And it's called Why Science? A member of church long ago invited me for a get-together, know each other coffee, and he told me about a moment of spiritual awakening that had changed his life. He was a scientist, and he had spent years gazing through microscopes at slides. I don't know how many of you have looked at slides under a microscope, but if you can manage to get focused, if you can manage to get it focused, it's pretty cool to see the details up close. You can see things that you never have imagined were there. One day, he had his first look through an electron microscope, which was an emerging technology at the time. The thing about an electron microscope, he explained, is that you can look at living tissue. That first time he saw living cells, it seemed to him to glow with life. He was overwhelmed by the beauty and mystery of seeing life in a new way. The universe broke open for him, and he was filled with awe and wonder. Some of you have probably noticed that I quote scientific studies in my reflections more often than I quote the Bible. Why is that? The first reason is that scientists have discovered some truly amazing things so amazing that they change the way you look at the world. What Galileo saw through his telescope was so mind-blowing. It was called a heresy by the church. When Louis Pasteur and other scientists figured out the relationship between germs and illness, it changed forever the importance of the simple act of hand washing. When Suzanne Simard showed that trees communicate and share resources through the fungal network, ordinary trees inspired fresh wonder. The creatures we've discovered on the bottom of the ocean are wilder than the wildest science fiction. Writer could imagine. Science helps us grow in awe and wonder at our universe, and it stirs us in a kind of sacred curiosity. When the world might begin to seem ordinary and uninspiring, science reminds us that there's always something new to experience, something unexpected, just below the surface. In the words of the astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, the reality of nature is far more wondrous than anything we can imagine. Second, science helps us to have faith. I'm agnostic about many of the things that we find in the scriptures. For example, I have no idea what happens to our spirits after we die. I don't know about the resurrection of the body. I try to stay open-minded, but I just don't know. What I do know is this. Right now, when I look out of the window, aside, this was written in the winter. Right now, when I look out of the window, everything is gray and covered with ice, slush, or mud. You'd never know by looking that anything had ever grown in my garden. And yet, every spring, the crocuses, the tulips, the bleeding hearts come back, and I see it with my own eyes, and I believe in it. And when I go online, I can read endless articles about why and how these beautiful little flowers store energy in an underground storage bulb while they're dormant. One third grade science lesson called The Miraculous Storage Organs, a big lunchbox packed with enough food for the whole growing season, helps me have faith in hard times like this. To know for a fact that things move in cycles, that life finds a way. I believe in the resurrection of the faith of the amateur botanist. As Joseph Priestley wrote, theology and science, different as they are far from being at variance. On the contrary, they perfectly harmonize with and promote each other. I'm agnostic about how prayer works. I have felt it work. I can't explain how it happens. And I sure can't promise you that it'll work the same for you. But There's an increasingly large pile of documentation showing that gratitude is good for humans in all kinds of surprising ways. You don't have to believe me just because I'm the authority figure. I can send you a link to the research, and you can see for yourself. Finally, science holds us accountable to reality. In these days when the shared truth of our society seems suddenly flexible and unreliable, agreeing on what's true and real has a new urgency and importance. For hundreds of years, scientists have agreed on a system of accountability. They've established a community, understanding of how we know what we know and what we don't know. There are established ways of challenging assumptions. You can't send a spacecraft to Mars based on things you wish were true, or that seem true, or because some authority figure said it was true. You can't end a pandemic with truisms, or a political ideology, or even good intentions. As astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson says, if your belief system is not founded in an objective reality, you should not be making decisions that affect other people. If you want to change or preserve or understand the world, you need to get your information from the physical world. As a person who loves the realms of imaginations and concepts, I've learned the importance of grounding ideas in reality if they're ever to become more than fantasy. One thing that saddens me about the way we do science in our culture today is the assumption that science can only be done by experts with advanced degrees. When Priestley made his great discoveries, he was a school teacher and a clergyman. Charles Darwin was an amateur naturalist. And I believe there's a great loss when we turn over all of our exploration to the experts and surrender our curiosity, our inquisitiveness to those with impressive degrees. You don't have to be trained scientist to receive its fruits. Just get curious about what you see and what you hear. What changes? Notice patterns. Wonder why. Notice contradictions. Notice the exceptions. Notice when things don't turn out like you thought. I believe that when we learn the science of ordinary things around us, trees and birds and stars in the sky, it helps us to grow spiritually. Our knowledge of the material world adds depth and complexity to our spiritual growth. An epiphany that something true about the life of a tree, about the chemistry of a flame, is also true about me and how I experience the world, has a powerful and satisfying beauty. I've often used the quote by Walter J. Burghardt, "Contemplation is a long, loving look at the real." Scientists who have love in their gaze do work that feeds your spirits. As part of our UU spiritual practice, I encourage you to notice, to wonder, to question, to get curious, to participate in the harmony of scientific and religious truth. And now we'll have our community of names and milestones.
At this time in our service, we pause to honor and give time and attention to those things most important to us. We gather here for healing, for peace in our hearts and in the world, and we honor our time together with the shared stories and news from the congregation. Each week, there's a journal outside the entrance of the sanctuary where you can write a message of memory or hope. We honor these messages by lighting 3 candles that are next to our chalice. Also, at any time during our service, you are welcome to come forward and light a candle in our meditation center here at the side of the chancel. Today, we don't have any entries in our book of memory or hope, but we ask for a moment of silence to hold all of those silent thoughts. Now uplift the sorrows of the congregation, both spoken and unspoken among us, and Misha will lift our hearts with music.
Good morning. So our reading by Reverend Lane talked about the beauty of science and how science and observing the natural world can be a spiritual practice. And I agree with this philosophy. But I've been concerned of late about how science is done in this country. It seems to me more and more that science and scientific research is under attack. Within the last year, money for scientific research has been slashed severely. Thousands of government-funded research grants have been terminated. Government-funded vaccine trials holding the promise to prevent diseases such as AIDS were discontinued. Scientists who were accused of ties to China were jailed. Some of them have left the country and taken their labs with them. The federal government, over 100 scientific advisory committees whose job was to guarantee the safety of government policies were disbanded last year. The previous year, 2 had been disbanded. The independent checks on the government actions, and at the same time, more than 50% of the public meetings that call for feedback so that the public can do that were eliminated. Science and science education in this country is in crisis. There are laws discouraging immigration that hit graduate students in our colleges. The workhorses of the American scientific research are being denied visas to remain in the country. They're being denied the option of getting employment after they graduate, preventing our country from benefiting from all of the scientists that we're training. The United States used to lead the world in publishing scientific papers, but no more, and I don't think it's very much likely that they will regain that reputation. The United States is also losing its reputation as a top destination for scientific education, and we've seen sharp drops in the enrollment over the last year or so. A philosophy teacher at Texas A&M was told by the state that he can no longer teach some works by Plato because they refer to gender roles. The University of Texas Tech, students are discouraged from doing any research that discusses gender. The policies in our federal and state governments, as well as propaganda from fundamentalist religious organizations, have intensified into a full-blown attack on science. And these attacks on science, they're not just about science, they're also attacks on truth. As Unitarian Universalists, I'm alarmed in these trends. Every Sunday, we stand up here and we say, the quest for truth is our sacrament. The quest for truth is our sacrament. Truth is a holy thing. And yet, we live in a state where the textbooks have always been a battleground. They were always rewritten to reflect whatever the current politics were and minimize the reality of things such as slavery, overlooking the presence of indigenous peoples. We're seldom taught histories of other countries or people who live on other continents. We live in a place where theories fundamental to science, such as evolution, are actively challenged, and where their truths are distorted or denied. It can be hard if you're a person seeking truth. Increasingly, it seems the United States is a place where truth isn't valued, where truth no longer matters. But this isn't the first time truth and science have been threatened, and it's unlikely to be the last. Galileo Galilei was imprisoned for saying that there were moons around Jupiter. The church suppressed his work, but in the end, the truth won out. The truth will always win out. As Unitarian Universalists, it's our job to search for truth, to keep asking questions, to keep seeking for answers. It's our job to keep true histories of our times. And although others may seek to rewrite them, we don't have to be passive witnesses to change. If schools are banned from talking about certain subjects, then we can still talk about them outside of schools. We can make books. We can write songs. We can tell stories. And we can continue to teach others. If science funding is gone for certain subjects, we can still do citizen science. We can vote for leaders who will support scientific institutions. We can host a science summer camp. We don't have to take these changes lying down. Because the same religious freedom that lets others oppose the teaching of science because of their faith lets us support the teaching of science because of ours. So, your mission today when you leave is to look at the world around you, every bird, every bee, every person, everything, and try to see it as it really is, and to seek to know the world in its true state, and to hold on to the truth as you see it, and tell truth to others. By seeking truth, we can all hope to come closer to the divine. Today's closing hymn is going to be number 203, All Creatures Great and Small, of the Earth and Sky.
Our chalice distinguishing words are from Michelle Collins. We have wandered together for a little while. Now the wider world awaits, with its own riddles and revelations. Walk gently, listening for the quiet what if. Breathe the noise of our everyday lives. May curiosity keep your spirit open and your heart wide.
Today's spoken benediction words are from Albert Einstein. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. One cannot help but be in awe when one contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries to comprehend only a little of this mystery every day. I'd like to invite you all for potluck today in Coleman Hall. Thank you.